It's time to say goodbye to hold music and say hello to fast customer support with Service Cloud. With trusted AI and data working together, you can skip long wait times and deliver efficient, personalized service right away, all while keeping support costs low and more customers happy. Reimagine your customer support with the #1 AI CRM for service. Learn what's possible at salesforce.com/products/service.
This episode is brought to you by JLL. Get an insider view into the world of commercial real estate with JLL's podcast, Trends and Insights, the Future of Commercial Real Estate. Whether you're curious about making cities more sustainable, the evolution of office space, or AI opportunities, this podcast will help keep you a step ahead. Tune in for candid conversations with business leaders about the biggest trends impacting how we live, work, and play. Subscribe to Trends and Insights now at jll.com/podcast.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Welcome to the Age of Jeremy. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Age of Jeremy. I am the leader when it comes to advice with business content, creation, software, taxes, investment, education, and all the hobbies that I enjoy. Also follow our podcast network, the Age of Radioverse, on Instagram at Age of Radioverse. We have over 100 podcasts strong, and we continue to grow. You can also check me out on TikTok at Age of Jeremy and Twitter at Age of Jeremy Q. If you want to be on this podcast and chat, email me at jeremy.quintanilla@ageofradio.org or hit me up on the DMs on Twitter or on Instagram or on TikTok or wherever. There's also going to be a link to my email in the episode description. We are looking for small business owners and influencers to share their stories, no matter how big, no matter how small. We love a good story. So make sure that you reach out to me. We have our 2022 Freedom Conference brought to you by 3T Warrior Events, which is part of my business, 3T Warrior Academy, that I own with Coach JV. It's going to be a wealth building conference on April 22nd and April 23rd here in Phoenix, Arizona at the Marriott Phoenix Airport location. You can also buy a virtual ticket. Coach JV will be talking about mindset. Porter Shumway will be talking about insurance and how to grow your wealth and with insurance vehicles. Crypto influencer Bearable Bull will be live streamed in and talking about crypto. Jordan Harry will be speaking about speed learning. We will also have our technical analysis team and crypto research team there hosting panels. So make sure that you get your virtual seat if you're not able to come here to Phoenix, Arizona in person. If you are able to come here to Phoenix, Arizona in person, we would love to meet you. I will be there. Coach JV will be there. And Kevin Anytime will be there. We would love to have you if you're able to come. We would truly, truly, truly appreciate it. Let's get on with the show. My name is Jeremy Quintanilla. You are listening to Age of Jeremy. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm the co-founder of Age of Radio and 3T Fitness, and other businesses that I am working on. This podcast is about everything that I learn and the trials and tribulations it took to learn them. I hope you enjoy. All right, so as you may have noticed, if you follow me, did not have a podcast come out last week, and I haven't had a podcast episode clip come out on my social medias in quite a while. For a couple of weeks, I'm kind of a little bit behind on that. And the reason being is because I've been dealing a lot with a couple special projects that we are working on. We are working on an app called Merlin that I'm not going to talk to you a lot about right now. I just want to let you know that that is in the works. It is owned by 3T Warrior Academy, partner with a company that we own called Blockheads. So it's by Blockheads LLC. And 3T Warrior Academy owns our share of Blockheads, which I own 3T Warrior Academy. So I wanted to kind of talk about that. Or just kind of hint at that. What I want to talk about is we also have this other project called Phoenix Crypto Assets that we are working on, where we are creating investment crypto funds that allow people to invest with us, currently accredited investors to invest with us. And we have built a portfolio of digital assets that provide passive income to our investors or to our limited partners. And so that has actually been taking up most of my life and time. mainly because it is it's very new and interesting what's happening in this space when it comes to accounting and what laws that we currently have in place. And it's really interesting because right now, with everything that's going on, if you follow cryptocurrency, there is a case between a company called Ripple, which is the company that it has international transfer capabilities utilizing the Ripple ledger. And on that Ripple ledger, they have coins that they have called XRP. So if you hear a lot about XRP, if you're in the crypto space, that has to do with Ripple, and Ripple has a suit with them against them from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, because of the way that they were putting their coins out in the marketplace. It was very similar to how investments work, and so we're in this new space when it comes to these digital assets. We don't really have any laws because a lot of our laws with the digital assets are really, really old. And so especially within accounting. So not only do we have to come up to date with how digital assets are governed and managed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, if they are going to be managed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, and how those cryptocurrencies are going to be utilized with accounting. And so because of that, and because of the fact that most cryptocurrencies are on different wallets, right? Like MetaMask, or on your crypto.com exchange, or on your Coinbase exchange, or I'm trying to think of some of the other wallets. MetaMask is the only one that comes to mind because that's our main wallet, or Trust Wallet, I believe, might be another one. But how you account for that money when gains are realized on that money is similar to how gains would be realized if you were exchanging in different fiat currencies. And a fiat currency is essentially a paper currency. So if you are working with paper currencies, it's going to be very similar to how you realize and recognize gains when it comes to digital currency. So that's not too much of the difficult part. The difficult part is getting all of the stuff logged properly, realizing what is an intangible asset when it comes to some of these non-fungible tokens that can be purchased, or if you can buy different infrastructure such as node validators on the different blockchains. And so there's a lot of things that are going along with that, and we kind of put the cart before the horse, as we tend to do, but which has some benefits, and which it can be beneficial and negative, because it gets you moving, but the planning's not always there. So you're kind of going really, really fast, and you're not, keeping up to speed on the things that you should be keeping up on. And one of those things that we have not been keeping up on is how we're managing the books, because when we started this, the individuals, myself and one of my business partners, Johnny Crypto, he goes by, we were the ones that were focusing on the paperwork part of it. We didn't have someone who could then focus on the actual physical ledger part of it, or the accounting ledger, or the book ledger part of it. And so we got really behind, and I'm trying to catch up. And because it's all new, right, the space and how we're accounting for things, it's taking a little bit of time, on top of the fact that I previously, up until January, I was working for Wells Fargo Bank. Now I work full-time for myself and work, as a CFO for the businesses that I own, essentially, but for 3T Warrior Academy mainly. And then I have all of these other projects and businesses. So it kind of got really, really behind. And I've been frustrated by that, because if I had to put my passions in order, right, my passion would be Age of Radio, is where I have a really, really strong passion, and 3T Warrior Academy, and then Phoenix Crypto Assets, and then this Merlin app. I'm not saying that I can't manage all of them, because I'm working to get better at managing all of them and all the operations that go with it. But Age of Radio is really where my passion is, because it has to do with content creation. It has to do with creating, products and services, so that people don't have to pay, a ridiculous amount of money to get their content going out there. And then as I get better at certain things, then I want to roll out other specific products that, cost money on top of just the ad revenue that we sell on Age of Radio. And so that's where the frustrating part is because I would rather my time go to Age of Radio and to 3T Warrior Academy. And I think that my time allotment will be much more organized when all of this accounting piece is taken care of. And so So because of that, I've been doing nonstop accounting all of last week. Obviously, if you are if you have your own business, March 15th is when business taxes are essentially supposed to be filed, or the 15th day of the third month, which is March 15th. But I think they do that just in case you're using a fiscal year, and instead of a calendar year. And so when I'm thinking about that, or when I was thinking about that and trying to get it all caught up, we had to get some extensions in, we had to get stuff organized. And then I just really went balls to the wall on the accounting. And most of the nights last week, I worked until, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, slept until about 8, got up, worked for 3T Fitness and, Phoenix Crypto Assets simultaneously at the same time, right? Trying to get all of this accounting done. And it's been putting a lot of pressure on me. And because of that, I didn't release the episode last week because, I didn't have, when Sunday came around, I rested. Monday came around, I went hard on the books and then didn't sit down and prep an episode. And so one of the things that I want to get better at, and the reason why I'm doing this episode, is doing promptu episodes in the event where I don't have a draft of the content, but I have an idea of what I want to talk about. And so this falls in the realm of the idea of what I want to talk about. And, I'm continuing to schedule one-on-one or interviews, I guess, rather than one-on-ones. I'm continuing to schedule interviews with people. I have an interview this Friday. So that episode will probably go out next Tuesday or a week from today. With a cosplay artist, because I really want to talk to content creators and find out about their strategies and how they're growing their content, how they grew their social media. I really want to dive deep more into social media and content creation with the people that I talk to. So I'm not just talking about with cryptocurrency people. I'm not just talking about, business owners. A lot of people want to be content creators, and a lot of people make really good money. A lot of people make way more money than I make, obviously, doing content creation. I don't even make money from my specific content creation, other than how my I guess effect on 3T Warrior Academy makes money through that content creation that I manage, but it's not my actual content creation that makes any money. And again, that's one of my biggest goals this year, right? My number one goal this year is to have all of my family's bills managed by my content creation, money that can be generated from my content creation. So like from this podcast, when we get the Twitch channel going, any products and services that I put out as Age of Jeremy, or that in relation to Age of Jeremy, or products that I specifically put out, content that I create that gets put out, the money that's generated from that, I just want it to pay our bills. And we don't have a lot of bills. So I think that it can be definitely, done. We live very meager for, I don't want to say meager. We, I don't have I guess at this point in my life, I'd rather take my money and build more businesses or set my family up well, and travel, rather than have a lot of ridiculous nice stuff, right? I have a Toyota Camry. I have a 1,700 square foot house. I'm fine with this. We'll probably upgrade and put this in a rental, but that upgrade is not going to be anything ridiculous when we can afford something that's probably, very, very nice, or like to help, my mom get a new house and, prep for Ariana to go to college, which is my niece, and prep for my other nieces to go to college, help them get into business, help them learn about entrepreneurial, try to, advocate for their entrepreneurial spirit. And so because of that, we don't have a lot of bills because we don't have, a lot of expenses, and we're, I'm pretty good with money. Hence why I'm a chief financial officer, I guess, because I'm stingy. I don't know. And so that being said, because we didn't get the books, I started thinking about all the things that I've done wrong since I started businesses. And so I wanted to kind of go through that with everybody so that other people could learn from my mistakes, and hopefully the wisdom from, the 4 or 5 years working full-time and working full-time, working 80 hours plus a week to make sure that we could get these businesses off the ground, and how they're, how you grow that revenue. And I wanted to talk a lot about the types of mistakes. And so the number one mistake that I've seen in every single business that we've started, whether it's 3T, whether it was JV Impacts, 3T Warrior Academy, Age of Radio, Uncommon 1%, Phoenix Crypto Assets, Blockheads, I don't know, Q Digital LLC, Q Financial, no matter what business it was, the one thing that you should always do is have a plan in place and an allotment of time to make sure that you're managing your books. A lot of small business owners, they don't even manage their books. They run their receipts. They give the receipts to their accountant for, their sales receipts and their expense receipts, and their accountants put all that together, or they put it all in an Excel spreadsheet and they give it to them, and they, I guess, put together their taxes, and that's how you go. The problem with that is that you can't, the reason why I've never done that way is because you can't manage your key performance indicators, and you can't set target goals about how you want your balance sheet to look, how you want your profit and loss, sheet to look when you're just focused on that. And so that's one of the reasons why that's always been a big part of all of my businesses. The problem is that we've never started them, and been very consistent with it because it's always been me, and I have to, hold a lot of different hats. And that's so let me explain why we should have done it and what I could have done differently, and then give some advice on something that you can do when it comes to that specific piece about the books, right? So first of all, just use QuickBooks. Don't try to find something different. Don't try to make it more complicated than it is. QuickBooks works fine for small business to middle-sized businesses. And by middle-sized business, we talk anywhere between, I want to say 10 to 20 million. Once you get into that 10 million, 20 million mark, depending on what's going on and how you're managing your business, and what different diversification revenue pieces you have, you might need something more powerful than QuickBooks. I'm a big fan of Intuit, so just use QuickBooks. There are some other things out there that you might be able to utilize, but if you are going to utilize something, I would utilize a service where you pay. So like QuickBooks Live, I think is what it's called. You can pay someone in QuickBooks to manage your books. But I'll speak to that part in a second. So if you're going to manage your own books, just use QuickBooks and start from day one. You don't have to go in every single day and add in your revenue and your expenses. You can do it once a week, but I would not let it go more than once a week, because when we are managing our books consistently on a weekly basis, and by the end of that week, if I get all of the other, the previous weeks done, and I can get a report out to Coach JV and to Kevin and all of the other members of the LLC, we can see where the business is going. We can make assessments in much better real time than waiting for us to get caught up with that. I have found that we've been much more profitable in meeting our revenue goals, our profit goals, when we have those books done every single week, and we can then look at them, see what's coming up, where we're currently at, and see if we need to pivot or make any adjustments. Whenever that gets too far off, you can see the business not be as tight. And when the business isn't as tight, it doesn't produce as much as it can. So, and by producing, that can be minimizing expenses, increasing revenue, meeting certain, balance sheet requirements, getting your liabilities paid off, keeping your credit down, whatever the case is that you're looking at, which I'm not going to go too much into that because that could be a completely different topic, but you just want to have your books in place. So just use QuickBooks. Now, the problem is that some of you may not have an accounting background. If you are just putting stuff into QuickBooks and it's connected to your bank account, you don't have to understand how, the accounting, how accounting works in the regards to debits and credits. Okay. And so accounting is a very intricate and amazing process that was created by an Italian banker, I believe, if I remember the story correctly. I don't have it up in front of me, but essentially it all works out so that you utilize all your financial statements to create balances in those financial statements. Okay. So debit means left, credit means right. It doesn't mean deposit and withdrawal the way that the bank makes it look. And it's a little bit different when you're doing it for yourself. So if you don't have the ability, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, can be very complicated. If you don't have the fortitude to want to learn that, you have too much going on where you don't have to learn it. You can do what John did and you can hire me. The problem is hiring me, I also do other stuff. And that's what kind of caused the problem. If you have too much stuff going on and you can't manage it, even if you wanted to, I wouldn't recommend doing it. I would recommend using a bookkeeping service like we offer at Q Financial. Q Financial is what I'm trying to get up and running, where we offer bookkeeping services and tax services, and I can get some people hired to help with that, and I can manage it, right? And so you can hire an accounting firm to manage those books. They usually base it based off the amount of expenses that you have, up to, I think, $50,000 in expenses. I think it is we charge, I haven't looked at our pricing in a while, but we charge at Q Financial $250, or that's what I would charge someone for up to $50,000 in expenses. If you look at something like QuickBooks Live, I think that they do the same thing, because I think that's where I took my pricing model from. QuickBooks Live does the same thing, where you can have a digital bookkeeper that you pay $250 a month or whatever, and they manage your books. I could be off on the pricing. You can go look it up at Intuit QuickBooks Live, I think is what it's called. And so you should do that day one when you start your business so that you can be managing your books. The other reason why, besides the ability to manage your business very well, having good tight books, is that it allows you to get your taxes done quicker and you don't have to put any extensions on them, and you don't get into a shitty situation like I am in now where everything's got extensions on it. I have some that are going to a tax professional to do. I'm going to be doing some of the taxes on some of the other things. And you aren't in this weird, stupid predicament in April and the year's almost half over and you're just getting your books and your taxes done for everything. And that's not where you want to be. When the taxes open up on January 31st, your goal should have everything done by March so you can get all of your K1s out to any of the members, or your business taxes are all done by the deadline and you don't have to file an extension. It's just about managing your time and managing your books. And if you do a better job managing your books, then you don't run into those situations. So that's the number one thing that I would recommend if you are to, if I were to restart my businesses. The second thing that I can restart that I would do is I wouldn't say yes to everything. It's really exciting when you have a business that's going well and you have all these other ideas for businesses and you want to start those things, excuse me, and you want to do those things. Really exciting. It's fun. Making money is fun. We've made over 7 figures with 3T Warrior Academy. I'm almost up to 6 figures with Age of Radio. I'm just starting to make money with Q Financial. We are over 6 figures with, Phoenix Crypto Assets with one of our funds. We have an NFT project that's launching that's probably going to do 7 figures once the NFTs launch. There is just so much exciting stuff going on in the business that gets exciting and you want to do more. Not so you can make it. To me, it's not making the money. The money's the byproduct of it. To see that money happen and say, okay, I did this. That's what's great for me, right? It's not saying that we're going to go and give all that money away because it's a little bit more complicated than that. Especially when you're running a business, you have to employ people. You want it to grow. You want to keep savings going. You give the money back to the shareholders. You give some money back to your employees as profit sharing. If you offer profit sharing, which we do because we want to make sure our employees are getting, don't want to work anywhere else the rest of their lives, right? And so, I would have said no to doing a lot of businesses. I wouldn't have, or maybe not no to doing a lot of the businesses, but no to helping out in the capacity that I say that I can help out, right? If I'm giving money to a business, right? If I buy into a business, and I'm saying I'm just giving that, it's going to be passive for me. You guys manage it. You guys do that. Here's just the money for it. I shouldn't have said I'll help with the taxes or I'll help with the bookkeeping and all of that. That's a pain in the ass, especially when you get to the point where you have 6 or 7 of them that you're managing and you're doing it. So that would be the one thing. The other thing is I would focus on just 1 or 2 of them until they're both to the level of revenue generation that you want, where you can hire people to run them before you go and start the other businesses. It just puts too much stress on it when you're trying to get all of these businesses to create revenue at the same time, and none of them are creating revenue, where if you put more of your energy into one of them, you would have had, a bunch of revenue going with it. That's not to say that you can't start one, as that one's going, but I wouldn't have started the third one until the second one was going where I wanted it to be. Because you always tend to think that the things that you're going to do are going to move faster than they really do. And that's one of the biggest problems that I've ran into is that I've been doing this more for the last 4 or 5 years, is that as things get going, you're more realistic about what it's going to be, right? Because you realize that, okay, just because you're excited about it, not everybody else is going to be excited about it. So let's be realistic about what the numbers are going to be. And then let's continue to push and get to the goals that we want. So that's one of the things. Like I would still just be focusing on, Age of Radio. Like I wouldn't be on the meetings for Merlin like I am. I'm just being honest. I probably wouldn't be doing the taxes for Phoenix Crypto Assets because that's driving me insane. Not insane. I can do it. It's just the time is just, you only have so much time in the day. You want to make sure that you're putting that time to the most beneficial things or to the things that you're super passionate about. And that one thing that I'm super, super passionate about is Age of Radio. And that's gone by the wayside, or I could have given the money to Phoenix Crypto Assets and said, look, I just want to be passive in it. You guys manage that. If you need advice, just let me know. And that's what I started doing with the new project, Collecti. I was very adamant on it that I'm not doing any of that. I will help you in this advisory capacity. This is the amount of time that I'm going to allot to it. And it's not going to go more from there. You have to figure out how to build it. That's one of the things that I would have done much differently with some of the other businesses, and just made Age of Radio, which is one of my biggest passions, and 3T Warrior Academy. And then what I would have done was I would have built out Q Financial a little bit better. And then Q Digital happened because of my PCA stuff and because of some other stuff that I want to do in the e-learning world. And so, right. So I just have that set up, not really focus on it making money other than how the money flows through me from Phoenix Crypto Assets. And so that's more like a holding company, but eventually that will be a revenue driver. But I have made the decision not to focus on that as a revenue driver until I get Age of Radio to where I want to be. And as soon as PCA gets going, I'm going to pull back on, or not, I don't want to say pull back on doing, because I'm still going to do it and we're still going to do our roadmap. But my thing is, as soon as I can hire someone to help me, I'm going to, in any capacity, because when you have to make the managerial decisions and you have to manage everything and make sure that it's flowing, you don't have time to do the mundane thing like run all the accounting books. I'll still do it for 3T Warrior Academy, but eventually I'll have my own team that can do a lot of that. And that's the place where I'm getting to, is my next level that I want to get to, which is one of the reasons why I want my money to come from my content creation. So then that way I can take some of that other money from the profits of other things and put that into hiring people, so that then that way I can grow those things. You cannot grow stuff without labor. And that's why it's so important, as I reiterate, that making sure that those people have profit and possibly ownership in your companies is very vital to making something long lasting for much longer generations than you're going to be around, where your business can be here around 500 years and your great grandchildren are running it. So to reiterate, the number one thing I would do is make sure you get your books in order right away. Don't let more than a week or two go past after you start a business, or once you start spending money or getting money, you have books going and you have someone to manage those books, and they're managing them on a tight basis. The second thing is, I would know your limits and not say yes to everything, and be adamant on the amount of time that you're going to put into anything while you're running your business. And two, to that point, making sure that you're managing your time all around, whether it's with businesses or with other businesses, or with how you are, personal things in your life, just managing that time. You have to get really, really good at time management, and you have to get really, really good in knowing when to say no and when to say yes, and when it's beneficial for it. So, and then the third thing is, I would focus on, how can I say this? Because I don't want to make it sound like you don't want to manage your expenses, because expenses can get out of control really, really quick. But I would focus on the revenue driving activities a lot more, as long as you have your operations under control, right? I spent too much time, I'm going to use Age of Radio as an example. I spent too much time on Age of Radio focusing on expenses and managing it, rather than spending more time focusing on revenue driving activities and finding ways to diversify and make more money outside of advertising, right? You have to know when you're like, okay, I need to make money at this specific thing, and I can make it at this thing, so that we can get the business to grow and help the people that we want to help our customers with the way that we want to help our customers, and not be afraid to do that specific thing, such as e-learning, right? And so everything cannot be free when you are, certain things can be free if it's content marketing, and some things can't be free, and you need to know when to make sure that things that aren't free are producing the revenue and getting you to where you want. And because I can, when I spend the time, right, when I spend 8 or 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week on Age of Radio, right, and I'm focusing on reaching out to companies, talking to them about advertising on Age of Radio, reaching out to podcasters, telling them why they want to be on Age of Radio, making sure that we're managing our Facebook ads properly, our Instagram ads, getting our Twitter ads going, finally getting on Spotify ads, right? Once I'm focused on those things, then that revenue starts to go up, right? As soon as you pull back on those revenue driving activities, it makes sense the revenue goes down. And too many times that you see in corporations, mainly because I worked for a very large corporation for a very long time, and we also did it in 3T Warrior Academy for a while, until we got our shit together and decided to just focus on revenue driving activities and then manage the expenses. Once the revenue driving activities started flowing and we're getting consistent, then we spent more time cutting expenses, right? We did everything that we could to get the revenue going and generating, and then we pulled back on those expenses. And because of that, we have been able to get to our profit margins that we want, getting our people to the pay that we want them to be, and continuing to grow that, and then also being able to provide them profit sharing because of that, because we said we're not going to focus on cutting these expenses. We're just going to figure out how to make more money. And when you figure out how to make more money or more revenue, you do a lot better. So that is the third biggest thing that I would say that I have needed to change in these last 4 years that I'm still trying to get better at and making sure that I'm doing it, because we get caught up in checking the email. We get caught up in, meetings. We get caught up in chit chatting and talking and dreaming and or planning and strategizing, when at the end of the day, you need to have actionable things that you're doing that are going to move the company forward the way that you need it to move the company forward. And if you're not doing those things, then you aren't going to get the goals that you want, right? And then the last thing that I want to touch on that I would do different. So first of all, make sure that your books are tight. Have someone that you can manage your books, just to reiterate. Secondly, know when you can say no, know when to stop building business, stop starting new businesses, and focus on the businesses that you have, right? As an entrepreneur, that can be very difficult, because as entrepreneurs, we have lots of ideas and we want to do stuff, and we dream big and we just want to do them all the time. If you don't have the money for that, you can't do it, right? So just focus on the 2 businesses, get them up and going, or the few businesses, and get them up and going to where you want them to be. And then 3, just focus on revenue driving activities. Revenue driving activities will surpass, if you diversify it right, outsurpass those expenses and then pull back and manage those expenses. I think that works a lot better. 4 is that you want to make sure that you have revenue action goals that have actionable items that go along with them, right? So you can't just focus on revenue if you don't know what you need your revenue to be at, and you don't know how you're going to get there. So you want to make sure that you have sales goals in place and you're focusing on meeting those sales goals, and your whole company is around meeting those specific sales goals. If they're not around meeting those specific sales goals, they're going to waste their time on other things. So you have to have everybody align with the goals of the company. And so that number one thing has to be sales. And the second thing has to be action items that will have a direct impact on your ability to make those sales. For example, when we are focusing on our Facebook group, when we were focusing on our Age of Radio hosts, I'm just using Age of Radio as an example. Age of Radio hosts, Age of Radio focus books, I'm spending, 3 or 4 hours a day reaching out to advertisers. When we are doing those things, the Age of Radio hosts, building a good community with them, they're continuing to be with us. They're giving us new podcasts. They're recommending podcasts for us to bring onto the network. So we're growing our Age of Radio Facebook group. That's not the host, just anybody. When that's strong, you're building a really strong community. So people are constantly learning about your business, constantly listening to your podcasts and your products, right? It's kind of like content marketing. And then when you are focusing on the direct actions where you're reaching out to businesses, trying to set up time to them to talk, to get them to buy ad revenue on your podcast or across your podcast, right? Those are things that have a direct impact on the success of your business. Making sure that you're spending time and updating your ads, right? Because we're a very big ad-driven company. Not only the ads that go into across our network, but the ads that we send out on Facebook, on Twitter. If those aren't up to date with new shows, then those shows aren't going to get the benefit of being on the network, and then therefore they're not going to see the success. And if we're not advertising, we're not going to get new subscribers to any of our shows, and then we are not going to be where we need to be, and that's how we don't grow the revenue, and that's how we shrink. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing right now is because over the last 6 months, I've been so hyper focused on all these other things. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just want to focus on Age of Radio. I just want to focus on Age of Radio. I have a great opportunity. This is going to be the largest media company in the world, because it's not just going to be a podcast. There's a whole plan in place to make this one of the largest media companies in the world, and things that we're going to do right over the next 20 or 30 years that's going to push it and make it something that's going to be, generational, legacy, I guess, go for multiple generations, right? Is that if I can't do those things, then I can't get to that place, and then I didn't realize what it was that I wanted to do, because all of these things come in and I'm just always saying yes. So again, to reiterate, right? You want to have your books in order. You want to know when to say yes and no. You want to focus on revenue, right? Revenue driving activities. And then you also want to make sure that you have good revenue goals, and so that everybody can be focused on those goals that you're trying to set. So those are the biggest things that I've learned over the 4 years. I mean, there's lots of other things that I've learned, but for the time of the podcast, and not to just to have me continuously ramble on, that is what is the most important things that I continuously try to perfect that helps make us successful. And that is what I want to tell you to do. Just focus on those things and you will be successful. So thank you again for listening to the podcast. please make sure to support Coach JV at Coach JV _. He is my business partner. Support my that's Coach JV _ on TikTok. Make sure that you support Kevin Anytime on TikTok. Support all of the Instagram Age of Radioverse, all of the Instagram 3T Warrior Academy, all of the Instagram 3T Warrior Labs. If we still have it up, I think we converted it all to 3T Warrior Academy. So just make sure that you take the advice that I gave you and run with it if you have a business. Also, again, the 2022 Freedom Conference tickets are on sale. Again, it's a wealth building conference. Coach JV will be talking about mindset. Porter Shumway will be talking about insurance and how to grow your wealth with insurance vehicles. Crypto influencer Bearable Bull will be live streamed in and talking about crypto. Jordan Harry will be speaking about speed learning. We will also have our technical analysis team and crypto research team there hosting panels. Again, that is on April 22nd and April 23rd. A link to that website for the Freedom Conference will be in the episode description. And always remember, be grateful, thankful, and kind. We will talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to The Age of Jeremy. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. If you can do me a favor, please rate this podcast if your podcatcher allows you to. Talk to you soon.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.